Good morning, Keith Tebow from FRC Media. Thank you for joining us today. As you know, we've been speaking to the candidates running on the November 3rd state ballot. And, many of them are either Democrats or Republicans, but there are a few in the race that are either third party candidates or running as an independent. We have one of those independent candidates joining me today. I'm pleased to be joined by Coach Mike Manley. Coach is running as an independent in the 9th Congressional District. Mike, thank you for joining us. How are you?
Thank you, Keith. I appreciate you giving me the time. I'm Coach Mike Manley, as you said, and I'm running under the title of Coach, in parentheses, Team America. I'm not unenrolled. I don't like that title of being unenrolled.
Okay. So, for people who don't know much about you, tell us a little bit about yourself and, why you decided to run.
Okay, the first thing I like to say is I'd like to thank the 2,711 people that signed my petition. I needed 2,000. And I also like to thank all the girls on my teams that I coached for the last 15 years and their families for signing those petitions. We mailed them to their houses. They signed them. They saved me at least 5 to 6 days by getting over 200 signatures. I like to thank them. And I like to say to all of them that are in school right now, don't forget to study. That's how we ended practice every day. And for all the girls that are in college, I want you to remember, you're an original. Don't come back a copy. Well, I'm Mike Manley, and I grew up in Bayonne, New Jersey. I grew up in a housing project for about the first 12 years of my life. I had all kinds of different friends, nationalities, different races, and it was great. Color to us was something we did on a rainy day. I became a teacher, and I worked for 35 years in the New York City school system as a physical education teacher and coach. This year, I ended my 50th year as a coach and a physical education teacher. I had the pleasure of meeting many, many kids. I think I taught 17,500 kids in New York City, and hopefully they're around and they listen to what I said. I said that hard work pays off. I also told them, you and only you are responsible for your actions. Now, the reason I'm running is that now I hear politicians telling these kids, don't worry about it. You'll get a trophy. Hard work doesn't mean anything. Everything for free. And that goes against my grain. And it says for 35 years, I taught them one thing. And hopefully that's why I'm running. I'm running as.
Yeah. So let me ask you, a lot is made of, the two parties, the Democrats and Republicans. I don't think a third party or an independent candidate has won office in quite some time in Massachusetts. What are you facing in terms of meeting people? How are you getting your name out there so people can consider you?
Okay. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you for giving me the time. I think my two opponents don't even think I exist, but I'm out there plugging away every day. I've been to every town in the district. I've been to all the post offices, all the market baskets, Shores. I either put my card, I have little index cards, on your car, or I hand them to you personally. And this has been going on for about 10 weeks. It took me about 4 or 5 weeks to get my name on the ballot, going to get the 2,000 signatures. So anybody who came in contact with me, you know one thing. First of all, you're seeing my face. And second of all, you know the 2020 handshake I gave you. That is the key. Anybody that I met personally, I said, you want my 2020 handshake? And I gave it to them. This, like you said, this time and age, I had my gloves on, I have my hand sanitizer. When I took up the 2,711 signatures, I gave everybody a pen. So I've been out there plugging away. You'll see me in a different town. The only towns I haven't been to, or I should say the islands, is Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard, and the little island of Gosnell. Mainly because every time I want to go, another outbreak comes about. So I just say I better just hang back and go over the bridge. In August, I went over the bridge because every second person I met down in Cape Cod here was a tourist. September, I came over the bridge and I've been to all the town meetings and everything.
How do you view the district? It's very diverse. Obviously, you have part of Fall River, that south end of Fall River, if you will, and New Bedford, the gateway cities, if you will, and then the suburban communities, around here, and then obviously the more eclectic communities on Cape Cod. How do you see trying to bridge the gap and serving those diverse needs of those diverse communities?
Well, it's pretty tough. I was very impressed with a lot of the communities that I was at off the Cape, which I never had that much experience with, like Rochester and Carver. They're big farming communities. I'm all for farmers and fishermen. I spent 2 years in Kansas, and I was in school with a lot of different farmers. I respect them. They're hardworking people. And coaching up in Provincetown, I have a new respect for fishermen. These people work hard. Talking to all the old fishermen, they said, well, Provincetown used to have 30, 50 fishing boats going out. Now they're down to about 4. I heard the last girl on my team, father sold his boat, and now I think they're down to 3. And the other parts are, people are people. There are nice people wherever you go. There's nice people that are going to try to help you. And if you just tell them the truth, tell them how you feel, what you believe in, that's how you bring people together.
All right, I want to get to some of the issues now that congressmen will have to face if elected and getting to Washington. But before I get into some specifics, do you have one overriding issue that you'd like to address if elected on November?
Yes, it's education. My plan for education is kids first, kids second, kids always. That is my motto when it comes to the children. Everybody I say that motto to, they said, well, what are we going to give money to that goes to the administrators? No, I have a plan that first, second, and third graders should read before they go into the 4th grade. I've been in schools where the 35% dropout rate, and most of those kids couldn't read. They gave up when they went to high school because they were pushed along. Kids have to read. Some of the literature out there, 60% of the people that are incarcerated can't read. They're functionally illiterate. They can't read in the 4th grade level. Now, everybody says social injustice and everything. This is a big, big thing. And the other thing is, we have it on Cape Cod. We have school choice. School choice should be mandatory for every Black and Hispanic student. Not mandatory, excuse me. Should be giving them the choice to go to what school. Give the parents a choice to send their kids to what school they want. These 2 things. And I'm big on more physical education in school, more music, more art, and more vocational. But we're very lucky in this district. We have some really good vocational schools. And I'm big on that, and it helps it. And the music, art, and physical education, it helps the students' self-esteem. And they want to come to school because maybe that subject is their best subject, and they have a little bit of a hook to come to school and to learn.
Yeah. How do you feel the the country has handled the pandemic, COVID-19. Been a lot of criticism by the Democrats over the president's handling. The president has said it's the state's issue. How do you feel the nation has handled the pandemic? And as a second part of that question, do you feel there should be more financial assistance to businesses, individuals, and maybe even state and local governments as we move forward?
Well, first of all, it's my belief that you can't finger point and blame anybody. This is the first time this ever happened. The thing is, after this is over, they should have some kind of study and find out what went right, what went wrong. We should have all the things we need for the hospitals. We should have the ventilators and everything. And that's why I propose that joint Cape Cod, which is over in on the Cape, should be a disaster ready facility. By that I mean we are subject to hurricanes. We are subject to a pandemic. They should have all the supplies ready to go. If the Cape is supposed to be evacuated and some of these gas stations do not have a generator, or after a hurricane, somebody has to supply that. And that should be ready needed. It should be all over the country. The Midwest, where I lived for 2 years, tornadoes. There should be a base there that's getting ready for tornadoes. Out in California, forest fires. Down in the Gulf, hurricanes, Florida hurricanes. All these should be ready in an instant to help out. And the finger pointing, it's not helping. It's not helping.
Well, let me follow up with that second part of the question. Do you feel that Congress should come up with more financial support to those who have been impacted, again, by no fault of their own?
Definitely, the small business people are getting they're getting hurt badly, and that's the backbone of American society. I think when they do vote on these bills and they add this and they add that, it should be one single bill for one certain set of problems. They should have a bill immediately now to help all the small businesses, help them financially, help them with their health care, and do the right thing. You don't add on for the Kennedy Center, and you don't add on for Planned Parenthood and voters stuff. You take single issue votes and then give that money. That's where they waste all their time, and that's where they get their division. They're not looking out for the people who need it. They're looking out for their own interests.
Yeah. Another big issue that has surfaced just this year, of course, following the death of George Floyd, is accusations of police brutality, Black Lives Matter movement. What is your view in terms of supporting police, and what can we do better to help alleviate the racial strife across the country?
Well, for 35 years, I taught Black, Hispanic students. Most of the schools were on the free lunch, very poor students. And we've had great success with bringing in transit cops and different police and helping out. Today, 98.5% of the police are good people. They're your neighbors, they're your friends. Down in the city, we had the PAL, the Police Athletic League. Today, the word racism is used like it's the common word. If you don't agree with somebody, you're a racist. You have to treat each individual the same way. When I was out in New York City and we had basketball, and I can't referee all the games, so the kids were playing 3-on-3 basketball. They had what was called, and I implemented it, saying it to them, respect the call. If they had an argument, there was never any fights. If they disagreed, I said, respect the call. That's what we have to have with everybody. You respect everyone. Everyone is an American. Everyone lives here in the United States should be respected, and that could help a lot.
When it comes to healthcare, a lot is going to be made with the Supreme Court coming up. They're going to be taking up a measure that could overturn Obamacare. What are your thoughts on where the country should go in terms of providing affordable healthcare for all?
Well, we should have the 165 million people that are on health care keep their health care, and we should have a safety net for everybody else. We have Medicare, and we have Medicaid, and we also have the VA. They should be held in place. If it's overturned, then it goes back to the states. Luckily, Massachusetts has something in place. Everybody else will have to fall in line, or maybe even give the example of the healthcare that's here in Massachusetts.
Let me get right to the top of the ballot. You are a member of neither the Democrats or the Republicans. Do you have a choice, a preference on who you plan to vote for president?
Well, that is a question that made a lot of people angry when they asked me when I was collecting signatures. I was called a lot of names, but I was a Democrat for a long time. The Democratic Party has left me. I'm not a I'm not a joiner anymore. I'm unenrolled. And when I come to the Democrats, it seems like they left me, and our congressperson, Congressman Keating here, has left me. He was supposed to be helping across the aisle. Now, this party has been taken over by an extreme left wing that I do not agree with, giving things away for free, giving away free education, loans. What if kids paid their loans off and some other kids? It's not fair. So by that answer alone, you could probably figure out which way I'm going to go.
That actually leads to another question. I've asked the other candidates that I've spoken to in that are running for Congress. We've, Fall River, we actually have, two congressmen that are representing Fall River. We have the 4th district with currently Congressman Kennedy and, of course, Congressman Keating in the 9th. And I like to ask the question about the partisanship. It appears, in Washington, you've got to be, one side or the other, and it appears that both parties are controlled by the fringes, by the far extreme elements. Do you feel that most people that are going to be voting in the 9th district fall somewhere in the middle and not, ascribe to those polarization?
Well, I'll tell you what I say. I'll give you a little bit of a joke here. If FedEx and UPS merged, what would their company be called? Their company would be called Fed Up. Imagine going around Washington with all these trucks and Boston and everything with these trucks that say Fed Up. I think a lot of people are fed up, the way I'm hearing it out there, with the two-party system. They said you can't get along. And then they ask you, how would you do it? Well, first of all, I'm not beholden to any party. Second of all, I already do research. There's different things you have to cooperate with. We have a cranberry crop here. Wisconsin is the #1 in cranberries, taking over from Massachusetts. So right away, you have an ally with whoever's up there as the congressperson. And I'm big on having coffee. Let's have coffee. Let's talk about it. Let's get the job done. I'm not beholden to any party. I'm just no lobbyist. I'm just beholden to the people of District 9. One of my great things is we should have an attitude of gratitude for the United States. And I also listen, which is a big thing. People don't listen. They just want to hear themselves talk. Parties just want to have their own power. they want to just knock everybody. Hate is not a good look for America.
Yeah. Even though people who vote for Congress tend to look at the domestic issues that face them because it's personal to them in terms of education, just having a job, a roof over their heads, and the like. But a congressman is also involved in foreign policy. What are your attitudes toward how the country has been handling its relations with other parts of the world?
Well, if you ever go over to Europe or anywhere, uh, the, the, the the average person in those countries love America. The biggest problem today is China. China is not our friend. China wants to dominate the world. I don't care what you say. They have all they they're building their military up. They're getting a foothold in Africa. They're getting their foothold all over the world. They steal our technology. And anybody that says China is our friend, I hate to disagree with them because China is not our friend. The Confucius uh, things they have in college should be abandoned, and we should watch. And one of the things I worry about is an attack on our grid, because that would devastate us. I think we have to pay more attention to that. Also, I think China may have the capability of doing that. It might sound like a conspiracy theorist, but that's what I think.
Both parties also talk a lot about the subject of immigration policy, immigration reform. Where do you fall on that topic?
Well, I had personal things that happened to me in 1985 when half my baseball team, who were Dominicans or from other countries, became citizens. And when they became citizens, 9 of them became New York police officers. The funny thing about it was they retired in 20 years, came back to see me, and I was still working. But I have anybody that's been here and they call it no. Well, first of all, if you had $1 for every time you heard the immigration system is broken, you'd be pretty wealthy. Nobody wants to take up the problem. Before you can get a solution, you have to look at the problem. The DACA kids, these are the kids that came here without with their parents, had nothing to do with it. I have said, this is my plan for them. If they're still in high school, maybe they're not, maybe they're too young, and they go through the same system, elementary school, middle school, and high school, that graduation, there should be 2 ceremonies. One, for those kids become citizens of the United States, and 2, they get their diploma from graduation. I believe in legal immigration. I have friends down in New Jersey who had to wait 21 years. His wife had to wait 19 years. This is totally unacceptable. We have to speed up the process. We let in 1 million people legally every year, some of them with visas. Some of them don't go home. We have to keep track of that. If they want to become citizens, and they got, the old days, you had to have a sponsor. I don't know, maybe that's a good thing to have.
Yeah. Do you feel that the country and in a broader scope, our entire world is facing a climate problem?
That question, I've been researching. I have some girls that I coached on the team down in different colleges that are working there for their degree in ecology and everything like that. When they get back and one of them is in graduate school, I will definitely ask them. I worked at the lighthouse up in Truro, and that cliff there where the lighthouse was eroding 3 feet a year from 1797. So erosion's been happening on that cliff. They had to move the lighthouse in 1995. So that's been happening. I am totally confused with the scientists. You look up, this scientist says it doesn't happen. The Italian scientists that they have said it doesn't happen. They tell me that carbon dioxide or CO2 is not a pollutant, it's a food. The trees need it to give us oxygen. So I'm totally confused, and I figure a lot of other people are totally confused. One of the other things that I've been researching is that some people say that the ocean is warming up because of all the volcanoes in the ocean. There are 1,500 volcanoes on land, 1,900 volcanoes in the ocean. Now, did I just confuse you? That's how I feel. So I'm saying that the United States should get some kind of information, get some scientists together, and put that climate change under NASA. NASA is responsible for a lot of things in climate, like solar panels. You just look it up. 30 inventions from NASA. Put these scientists in there. They can be from those that believe in climate change and those that don't, and let them get the information and get it out there. I think the American people would believe those scientists. And right now it's the ideology of whoever the scientist is.
Yeah. As you know, because of the pandemic, the Commonwealth is trying to make it easier rather for people to vote this year, either by having early voting time or by mail ballots. Do you feel that's a prudent way to go? Do you feel there's any potential problems with that?
Yeah, there's a couple problems, but I'm okay with it. The thing that I'm not okay with is some of the states just sending out ballots to everybody. At least in Massachusetts, you have to request the ballot. The only thing I'm uncertain with is when I sent in some of my signatures, they were disallowed because they didn't understand them or the signature wasn't on file. And that was over 700 signatures that they disallowed. And the other thing is, it's a small thing, but I thought about it and I called up. When you send your ballot through the mail on Cape Cod, since they closed the distribution center in Wareham, that ballot now goes to another state. It goes to the state of Rhode Island and is processed through Providence, Rhode Island. Now, that's a 100-mile trip. Anything can happen. And also, when I called up the Secretary of State, he said that also happens in the western part of the state where the ballots go into New York are processed and back. But other than that, I have no problem with the voting in Massachusetts the way they're doing. They extended it another 7 days. So that means I have to campaign a little bit harder until the first day. So that's how you keep in shape.
That's right. Coach Mike Manley, candidate for the 9th Congressional District in Massachusetts. Thank you for your time. Good luck in the election, and hopefully we can talk again soon. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Keith. Take care.
All right. You too. Bye-bye. And thank you for joining us today on FRC Media, and please make a point to vote on November 3rd.